Hey guys, Dave Darin here on a broadcast on November 6th. What a horrible set of days these have been post-election, but I'll tell you, last night I got on, was it last night or yesterday afternoon? I forget because I'm so busy all the time. I got on YouTube, same as I am right now, and I was discussing Arizona's elections, Arizona's voting stations, etc. And I was pretty honest about it, and I'm going to get to that later on, but while I was doing my broadcast, I had one individual, Brandy, whether it's a guy or girl, whether it's a guy with a small penis or a woman that hasn't had penis for about 20 years or so. I will tell you what took place is she was saying, or he was saying, that I was a racist. Now let me bring up, before the show started, I had up my banner here of what today's topic's about for the one person that's listening right now, for the maybe 2 or 3 people that might join later on or do this in a replay. Today's topic is Dave Darin racist? Now let me discuss racism to you guys, all right? Let me discuss it. First of all, the person Brandy who was attacking me during my broadcast yesterday, which was not a live broadcast because I recorded what took place by me calling the Arizona Republican lawyer representative and the recording in Arizona for voting records, etc. So I was on there doing a broadcast which was pre-recorded, so I couldn't get online and discuss my rebuttal to this Brandy person attacking me about being racist. She brought up, or he brought up, Black Lives Matter. Now let me bring up Black Lives Matter. First of all, Websters, if you look at the poster I've got up here, no justice, no peace. Isn't that their slogan? No justice, no peace, sign held high. Webster's dictionary, synonyms and antonyms. I always say that wrong, for peace. The antonym is war. Black Lives Matter, I've listened to them, I've listened to their leaders. They do not denounce the violent and terrorist faction of their demonstration. And if you don't believe that there is a violent and terrorist faction within their group of protesters, then how about taking a look around at the violence, the desecration, the destruction, the terrorists going on in our cities. And the Black Lives Matter people are there protesting, and there is a faction of that group that are definitely violent terrorist parts burning down the city. When you do not see leaders of Black Lives Matter denouncing that faction of that group, that is an acceptance and it's a welcome part of that Black Lives Matter demonstration. It is a welcome part of that demonstration. All right, that's part one of this. And by the way, let me continue on that scenario by bringing up how this all started. If we recall, this all started with George Floyd. Did it not? Did it not escalate with George Floyd? Now let me bring up here. I got online and I was looking for the police record of George Floyd. All right. Now, how many lines do I have to scroll here to show you that okay, so here, if you look at the top, it says, police arrest Floyd on a total of 9 times, mostly on drug and theft charges. All right, mostly on, so what are we supposed to say? Are we supposed to say, oh, well, drug charges, everyone's got drug charges. I don't have any drug charges on me. I don't have any theft charges on me. How many of you people that listen to the show, the few that listen now, how many of you have had drug and theft charges? How many of you have that? How many of you have served time in jail for the scrolling history I have of George Floyd here? How many of you have had that? And if I scroll down here, let's take a look at some of the charges here. Floyd was sentenced to 15 days in jail for failure to identify to a police officer. What? I don't understand that one. But nevertheless, 5 days in jail. Identify to a police officer. I'm not sure what that means, but there we go. Between 2002 and 2000, police arrested and charged with Floyd with 4 crimes, having less than 1 gram of cocaine. I don't have any gram of cocaine on me at the moment. I haven't had grams of cocaine on me ever to be arrested with carrying cocaine. For criminal trespassing, for intending to give less than 1 gram of cocaine to someone on the 2004, and for again having less than 1 gram of cocaine. You know what are we supposed to say? 1 gram So what? 1 gram? Everyone's got 1 gram of coke in their pocket, don't they? And he was sentenced to about 30 months in jail total for those crimes. So he spent time in jail, 30 months in jail. And lastly, George Floyd was arrested on the most serious crime, aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon. So this is how it all started, by us having George Floyd as a participant in our anger of angry protesters at the Black Lives Matter, who violently destroy our cities because they believe they have an excuse to do so. All right, I'm going to bring me back up here. By the way, what is taking place now in America? Anytime that there is a killing of a black individual, anytime there is a killing of a black individual by a white individual, whether it be a civilian or whether it be a police officer killing a black person, immediately there is assigned guilt until they are proven innocent. This country is supposed to be the exact reverse. You are innocent until you are proven guilty. Right now we have guilt until proven innocence. And then when someone is proven innocent because black people have assigned them guilt, assigned white people the guilt, the police officer, they have assigned him guilt without any jury or justification for that guilt to stick. As soon as that person is found innocent, then all hell breaks loose because you have prejudged him to being guilty. Isn't that what this racist is about? Prejudgment, isn't it? Racist, prejudiced. Black people have prejudged any situation where there is a white police officer who has engaged with a black person, whether that black person has been killed, harmed, whatever has taken place, there is assignment of guilt, an immediate assignment of a prejudgment of that person, which prejudgment, put it together, it's prejudice. Black people are prejudiced against white people at this moment. Whether you want to admit that or not, it is true. I see it. People see it. They don't say it because they are scared to say it. And I am not scared to say it because I don't have a large audience of people that listen, where I'm earning a living from doing these broadcasts, or I care about getting censored, or care about you calling up my sponsors that sponsor my program and get me paid. I don't have any fear involved in that whatsoever. Therefore, I can be honest and in your face and tell you that black people are prejudging white people, put prejudgment together into one word, and what does it spell? Prejudice. All right? Let's go back further. Let's pull this up and let me see if I can make it larger for you guys, all right? And I think I can. I'm getting no watchers here because people are afraid to see what I want to say. How come I'm not getting this? Here we go. I'm not sure I can pull this up. I guess I can here. Okay. Take a look at this statistic. Take a look at, actually my wife was shocked at this, looking at the voting in Washington, D.C., District of Columbia for president. Look at this. 93% of the vote went to Joe Biden. 93% of the black vote went to Joe Biden, or the combined white vote. And let's take apart this. Let's take apart the voting of 93% going to Joe Biden. Who do those people represent? They represent the black voters, and they represent the, I'm going to say it, white trailer trash people, and also white people who are now made and brainwashed to feel guilty because they are white privileged. Those are the three categories of people that are voting for a socialist country, voting the Democrats into power. Those are the three groups of people. They are the black people who will only vote for a Democrat candidate. They will only vote for that candidate, whether it be white or black. Take Obama, now take Joe Biden. They will only vote for a Democratic candidate. The black people across the country as a whole, as a majority, will only vote for a Democrat candidate for the most part. The other people are trailer trash white people who want their Medicaid, they want their socialist welfare programs, they want their welfare, they want their free education, they want their freebies. based upon who pays for it. Who pays for all that stuff that's free? Who pays for all of that? If you're not paying for it, somebody's paying for it. You get to see me again. With all the freebies that you want by voting for your socialist candidate to give you welfare, to give you Medicaid, to give you free health care, to give you free education. When you get it for free, do you think that the educators that are educating you are not getting paid? Yes, they are. Do you think the guy that's giving you that operation, who's giving you, what's the thing you get for kidneys? Dialysis? Do you think you're getting that when you go in there for your dialysis once or twice a week? You think you're getting that for free? You may not be paying for it, but guess who's paying for it? The hardworking people that may be white, they may be black, they may be Indian, they may be Hispanic, they may be black. Every race of person is working hard while you sit on your lazy asses are the people paying for your lazy ass to be in the hospital receiving your free Medicaid and your free welfare. We are paying for it. And if you don't believe it, you know it's true. You just don't want anyone like me telling you that because you're angry at the people who have the ability to pay for things when you don't have the ability to pay for things because you are one lazy ass. If you got off your asses and worked, maybe you would see the draw that it takes upon us that are working to pay for the lazy people that you once were when you're finally working. Then you see the hardships that we go through to pay for your lazy ass that you used to be. I'm sick and tired of people saying white privilege. I'm sick and tired of people not denouncing the Black Lives Matter terrorists within the no justice, no peace, when the opposite of peace is war and violence and terrorism that we see in a lot of our big cities. What else did I have here? When I pulled up my picture, did you see me? Yeah. Oh, I'm pulling up the wrong thing now. I just want to make sure. Yeah, okay, my programs are working. All right. Another thing here. Let's take a look at the top cities with the highest number of African American people. Let's take a look at that. I've got that here on the right-hand side that you can probably see. Let's take a look at that. 48% of the Washington, D.C. population is black. 48%, you can believe that probably 46% of those people voted for the Democrat candidate of their choice, whether it had been Obama or now Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. Those people voted heavily for the Democrat candidate of their particular party for the prime reason that they wanted to continue the handouts of welfare, Medicaid, the $600 bonus that you got when you were unemployed. And where does that $600 come? It goes into your pocket. The $1,200 that went to you and your wife, although if you're a wife, you probably don't have a husband because your husband has abandoned you. And you don't want to hear that because you just want to hear that everything in America is going to go great now that you decided to hire a socialist president to become your party leader. So here we go. 48% of the DC population is black. Take a look at the cities in the United States. New York City, Chicago, Illinois, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. All of these places have had violence of Black Lives Matter terrorists and violence and burning down of their cities because of the Black Lives Matter violence that's going on in justification of George Floyd, a criminal who spent, how many years did he spend in jail? Did any of you research how many years he spent in jail for the violence, holding a gun at a pregnant woman's belly while she was robbed? How many of you people know how many years he spent in jail? Do you know that? Have you researched it, or are you just brainwashed by your socialist Democrat agenda and you haven't looked into that? You just assume that he's an innocent guy who was going to church every Sunday, who was baptized, who's on his hands and knees praying to God. That's what you guys all think. When you guys don't know when he was on his hands and knees, he's probably on his hands and knees holding a gunpoint to that pregnant woman's belly because he held her at gunpoint for too long to stand. So he got on his knees with a gun pointed at her belly while they were robbed. And it's the person that you put as your patron saint of no justice, no peace, Black Lives Matter, and the Black Lives Matter's leaders do not denounce the terrorist and violence going on in your cities that are being burnt down. Thank God I don't live in Philadelphia anymore. Thank God I don't live there. To see the violence and the terrorists going on in Philadelphia that would have been escalated even further if Biden didn't win and doesn't win. He hasn't won yet, by the way. So let's continue on with this. So I get people now who, wrong thing again. I get people now who say Dave Darin is racist. You know what? Dave Darin and the other people who are more developed hosts on their programs, whether it be Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson, they can't come on and tell you the way it really is. A person like me can come on and tell you the way it is. Let me pull this down. I don't think it's coming through now since I manipulated my programs. I think it's going to balance out now. Hang on a bit. Hang on while the delay in the video takes place here until you see me centered on the screen. I should drop down in a second, and there we go. Okay, so now you see me fully. You will not hear you will hear a degree of reality from the major broadcasters on the more conservative station, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity. You will not hear them say that black people are racist. You will not hear them say that because they have to tame it down a little bit. Someone like me who doesn't have a large audience and doesn't depend on sponsors and anything else can actually tell you the way it is. When you see that black George Floyd or anyone else that's being stopped by a white policeman, the immediate thought in a black person's mind is to prejudge that situation. They prejudge the white man, the white police officer, to be holding that black person as you think that that's almost like a hostage situation. You have prejudged that to be a violent situation that has taken place. You have prejudged it. You have, take the word, combine it together, as I said twice before. You have decided to make a prejudiced decision on behalf of that situation that you didn't even witness. You saw it. Where did you see it? You saw it on media. Media has the ability, just like I do, or anyone that does a podcast or a YouTube or a Facebook show, we have the ability to edit. We have the ability to manipulate you by editing. It's easy to do. Today's software gives you the ability to edit within seconds. We can manipulate you in seconds, and you have been manipulated in seconds to be prejudiced against white people. Black people now are highly prejudiced against white people. There is a hate of white people. There is a prejudice of white people. There is a determination to make sure that we believe, every white person believes that they are white privileged. We don't have to decide and go through IBM that I used to work for, or Hitachi that I used to work for, or Honeywell that I used to work for, and determine how many black people work there, how many black people are paid the same money that white people are. I got to tell you, me being in corporate America, black people that are as competent as white people are paid the same amount of money as your white privileged people are paid. If you don't believe it, you're not in corporate America to understand that, or you are manipulated enough to not try to understand that. Black people are paid the exact same money as their counterpart white people with the same skill set as they are in IBM, Honeywell, Hitachi. Anywhere in the entire United States, they are paid the same amount. And if you don't believe that, then you are sleeping under a rock and you are brainwashed and you are part of the problem that America has become today. Don't like it? I don't care if you like what I say or not. This is coming from somebody who's been 62 years in existence. And I know a lot of you guys hope that people like me die and pass away soon. I will tell you one thing that is satisfying to people like me at the age of 62. I've got, 20 years left till I'm 82, 85, 23 years, 24 years at the most I've got to live the rest of my life. I'll tell you the revenge that we have upon you guys when you guys finally close the lid and the coffin on the last of the baby boomer generation. What's going to happen to you is you're going to live in the communist country that you have created. The revenge that we have as baby boomers in the box underground is that we know above ground you are suffering the horrors that you have created in your communist, socialist country that you have been building upon for decades and are willing to achieve and are achieving at this moment. Once we are underground, you won't remember the people that warned you. You won't remember Dave Darin. You won't remember Sean Hannity. You won't remember Tucker Carlson. And the reason you won't remember us is because your daily lives are consumed with the terrors and the tragedies that you've created now, going forward. You won't be able to remember who warned you because you're going to be too busy living in the tragedy that you have created. And we are willing as baby boomers to leave this planet to you to the complete destruction and annihilation that you are willing to capture at this very moment. I am satisfied to tell you that as a baby boomer, good luck with that. There could be no more deserving people than you who have planted the seed of communists in your backyard. You have planted it. You are going to live with it as it grows and pollutes your environment, pollutes your lives, destroys your lives, and you get to live in the lives that you are cultivating right now. Have any of you at all gone through history and seen what communist countries go through? Have any of you investigated that before you decided to turn the channels on the United States to turn us into them? Have you studied it? And you better study it now. I'll tell you why. Because history, part of the agenda of socialists and of Democrats and of communists is to eliminate history and rewrite it to their advantage, eliminating the parts of history where you could remember how great the United States was. There is going to be a rewrite of history. So if you don't study it now, you won't know how good it was in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 60s, in the 90s, until you decimated the United States in 2020. You will not know because you won't be able to pick up that history book and learn how good it was in the past when your history is rewritten in the past and written going forward with the manipulation that takes place from now on. You won't be able to revert back to understand how it was. It'll be gone. It'll be erased from memory. That's the way it is in the United States now, at this very moment. We have black people who are prejudiced. They are prejudging every single event that takes place that involves a white civilian, a white policeman, a white politician. There is immediate judgment before a judge and jury has the ability to hear both sides of the story, to make a logical decision on his own, and with a jury of peers that are there to judge reality. People now prejudge a situation that has taken place without understanding the facts, without wanting to understand the facts. They prejudge, put the words together. It's prejudice, isn't it? Isn't it not? Racist, another word for racist is prejudice. Black people are prejudging the situations taking place. Take the word prejudge, smash it together, and you get prejudice, which is racism. And Black Lives Matter, none of the leaders have denounced the terrorist groups within the Black Lives Matter protests. When you do not denounce that faction of people within your group, you are willingly accepting them into your group, and you are willing to install and initiate violence, terrorists, burning down of cities, terrorizing the population, locking them down so they cannot conduct business, and you are destroying the communities that you are protesting in because you have become prejudiced and manipulated by media and by your fellow destroyers of the country of the United States, which is now the United Socialist States of America. Add that extra S in there because that's what it is, and that's what you're going to live with when people like me are gone. Our ultimate revenge upon you is going to be looking up from our caskets as ghosts, seeing the decimation and the destruction that you have installed upon your population beginning decades ago, but cultivating and escalating from 2020 going forward. You are going to live with the tragedies that you have planted, and I cannot think of a better group of people that deserve the tragedies that you are creating right now than the Democrats and the liberals and the communists that have planted this in your backyard, and you have opened your gates and allowed those seeds of destruction to populate your backyards. You deserve what you get, and you're going to get it. Absolutely, you're going to get it. You're deserving, you're going to get it. Now, to go back to the second topic, which was my crybaby attitude about Donald Trump and me crying about it, where I had Brandy come on yesterday. Again, whether it's a guy or girl, or it's a guy with a small penis or a girl that hasn't had a penis in 20 years or so. Let me come back after some more coffee. I got on here yesterday and I was talking about my events that took place in Arizona, my particular voting event. I wasn't going and stretching my imagination to say, here how it is in Philadelphia, here's how it is in Chicago. I gave you my description of what took place in my voting poll that I went to. Here we go. This is what took place. I went there, I voted. A couple things happened. I did not get a voter's copy of a provisional ballot. Now, I found out yesterday, it's funny, I do more investigation than reporters do. I do more investigation than the high-paid people who are paid to investigate. This is what I found out yesterday by contacting one of the lawyers that represents Republicans, and I actually called up the recorders. The recorder's office records deeds of properties. They record a bunch of stuff, including votes, okay? They're responsible. The recorders are responsible for that. I called up multiple people yesterday. And this is what I found out. A provisional ballot. I didn't exactly understand what that was. Maybe I could have done more research before I got online or investigated on my own. I could have probably done it online, but I decided to call up and find out what it is. So for the person that said I was a crybaby yesterday because I was crying about provisional ballots, here's what a provisional ballot is. Evidently, there's multiple reasons you get a provisional ballot. One way is if you have changed your name. I guess you got married, you changed your name, or you just changed your name for whatever reason. When you go to vote, they'll want to match your name up to make sure that you, with two names, only voted once. So when they see that there's an anomaly with your name, you will get a provisional ballot so that they will be checking the background to make sure you didn't vote twice. Second reason you get a provisional ballot is if you go to vote and you already have voted, whether you voted or tried to vote twice, which is all part of this as well, this part of this anomaly where people are saying there people have voted twice, 3 times, whatever the case. If you go there to vote in person, when I went to vote in person, if someone had voted for me already by doing an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot, and they saw that Dave Darin already voted, they would give me a provisional ballot so I could vote that second time, but then there would be a study of did Dave Darin vote twice. That is, and you leave there with a provisional ballot, a voter's copy of the provisional ballot, which I didn't get, which I did not need because I voted once. And when they checked my record, they saw that Dave Darin had not voted. So he has the right to vote in person, by the way, without a mask. I voted without a mask. I voted there in person, no provisional ballot. I complained about that. I found out the facts by doing research and studying it and understanding it. I wasn't a crybaby about it. I was factual. I found out the facts. I reported the facts yesterday. I was not a crybaby. I reported the facts. Another thing I found out yesterday was the Sharpie, it's called, right? This is what I found out about Sharpies yesterday. So let me see if I can put up a piece of paper. This is what I found out. And by the way, I got to validate this because I don't have a ballot on me to see if what I was told was accurate. I was told it by 2 places. I was told it by the Republican Council representative, and I was also told by calling the who did I call? The governor's office reported it to me, or the recorder of the recorder's office told me. This is what the ballot supposedly was. I can't remember the ballot when I filled it out, how I turned it over to vote on the second side. But this is what I was told. When there was the question, you know, Trump, Biden, and then there were circles here to vote for Trump or Biden, or vote yes or no on the proclamations, or whatever the case is. So this was the question, the circles that you filled in with the Sharpie. The problem is that people were saying that on the reverse side, the Sharpie was bleeding over and causing incorrect voting for other situations. So they were saying that, you know, if they voted on the other side for Prop 207, and if they voted here it would bleed over and potentially maybe vote for Biden, or potentially filling out this thing in the back would vote on this side for Trump. So they were saying that a vote here or a vote on the back would bleed over. So what I was told, and I'll have to validate this by finding a ballot or trying to download a ballot from 2020 election to see if that's true. The question was written this way, the voting circles were here, and on the back side, the question would be from here going this direction, here going this direction. So the circles would be here. So the circles in the front are here. The circles on the back, being the question from here, here, would be here. And the computer is set up to read here on the front and here in the back, so it does not combine any bleed over questions. So that's what I found out. I reported it accurately yesterday. Now, one of the things I did not find yet in a final determination is how often machines are calibrated. And that, that would not be specific to this election. It would also be specific to prior elections. How are machines calibrated? And me being part of IT, me being part of working for IBM, what we do is we move things in a test environment to a production environment. When we move it to a test environment, when we move it from a test environment, we thoroughly test it with things called test cases to make sure we test functionality of the application. We would have tested how a potential bleed over would have affected the ballot, and we would have corrected that by moving the columns to two sides as supposedly they did. We would be testing failed ballots and successful ballots as well. We would do those test cases in a test environment. When we moved to production, we would monitor that for what's called a 1 month's warranty period to make sure everything works correctly. And we would heavily focus on a couple days to make sure things were successful. So I asked the recorders, and I couldn't get an answer yet, and hopefully I'll get an answer within 7 to 10 days on how these machines are calibrated and how they're tested. I brought up a condition. I brought up, if you get a traffic ticket and it's for speeding, when you go to court, the police officer will have the calibration measurements with him to prove that the photo radar or the radar gun that he used to track you was accurate and calibrated recently so that your speed was accurate and accurately projected and tracked via that radar device. So I asked them, how accurate are these machines? During heavy usage of a lot of people voting in person, are they calibrated every hour to make sure they're fully functional? Do the machines have the capability of checking themselves to make sure that they don't fail? Right now, you hear in the background, you hear one of my 3D printers. Maybe I can turn this around and you can see it. My 3D printer is printing right now. Now, if it ran out of filament here, the machine will shut itself off and detect an error. So what I'm getting at is when you're voting, if that machine is malfunctioning, voting for one party over another or voting inaccurately, does it shut itself off and detect an error? Does it do that? Is that not important to know in our voting establishment right now? Do we not need to know that? When a machine is installed in a facility, is it checked for full functionality or a malfunction? Is it checked? Isn't that important to know? And you may say, well, over the course of years and voting elections 4 years ago, now in between midterm elections, the machines are trusted. From what I understand, it's a bidding war to get those machines placed in these voting stations. It could be a different set of machines from a different vendor are utilized in 2020 than were in 2016. There may be modifications to those machines. Is it not important to know that those machines that are placed in these voting stations are initially made sure that they're working properly with all the test cases run on those machines to make sure the ballots are being accurately tracked? And during the process of voting, is it not important to know that that machine can self-test itself like my printer can do, or self-test itself throughout the voting process? And I'm going to find that out to make sure that our election results were accurate. And I'm not a crybaby about it. If you notice, I reported yesterday accurately of what I found out. And I was not biased about it. I stated that from what I understood yesterday, the Sharpie situation is not a situation that is accurately marketed as a Sharpie bleed over casting votes inaccurately. I found out that not to be the case, but that I did not validate that yet by seeing how an actual ballot is presented. I forgot how my ballot was. I voted. I wasn't interested in seeing. I wasn't thinking about the Sharpie bleed over. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about voting for the candidate of my choice or candidates of my choice. So I didn't look at the ballot to see, okay, let me see if this bleeds over. Is it going to inaccurately vote for Prop 207 or Prop 208? Or when I vote for Prop 207 or Prop 208, is it going to then double me on Biden and Trump, so where it says I voted for two people? Supposedly the machine, if you vote for Trump and Biden, supposedly it's supposed to kick that out. And you're able then to get another ballot to vote for the person that you wanted to vote for instead of Biden and Trump together. You want to vote for one or the other. You don't want to vote for both, of course. So supposedly the full function out of that machine is to extract that voting ballot, give you the opportunity to put in a correct one with the anomalies eliminated so your vote is select. Supposedly the machine is smart enough to do that. I don't know if that machine was tested to be smart enough to do that. I don't know if it was tested periodically, every hour, every 2 hours, every 3 hours, to make sure it's functioning correctly. We don't know that. I don't know that. I want to find that out. Anyone have anything to say here? There are very few people will listen. Maybe more people will listen later. Today's definition of racist is prejudice or bias held by conservative white people. That's what Gary says. And I gotta say, and I will repeat this again, and let me pull up my details here in case you miss it. I'm getting repetitive here, but the topic today is Dave Darin racist. Webster's dictionary. Take a look at the left side. No justice, no peace. This is the slogan of Black Lives Matter, raised fully high, and hopefully you can see it. Let me make sure it's on the screen fully. There it is. No justice, no peace. Signed, proudly held high. No justice, no peace. I pulled up Webster's dictionary. Let me pull this over a bit. Webster's dictionary's meaning of the word peace. Synonym and antonyms for the word peace. Now I've just got the antonym. I always pronounce that word incorrectly. The opposite of peace is war. Are we not seeing war in our streets? Are we not seeing war in Philadelphia? Are we not seeing war in Baltimore? Are we not seeing war in Scottsdale, Arizona with the destruction of Fashion Square Mall, which was destroyed by the faction of people within the Black Lives Matter terrorist part of that group that destroyed Scottsdale, Arizona's one of the most beautiful shopping districts in Arizona. Destroyed, burnt, decimated, businesses closed, businesses not returning, businesses with owners scared to return because of the terrorist group of people that continually populate the streets of Scottsdale, Arizona, and will escalate that violence, especially if Trump wins or won. The violence would be escalated out of control. The violence will be escalated whenever there is a white on black situation that occurs, whether it's citizen or police officer or politician. There will be an immediate judgment by black people. There will be an immediate judgment. An immediate judgment is a pre-judgment before a judge and jury has heard the both sides argument and a final decision being made. There will be a pre-judgment by black people to assign guilt to that white person. And that prejudgment, slice the words together, prejudice. There you come up with the black people being prejudiced against white people that you will not hear Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson say, because they need to keep their sponsors happy, and they need to keep their sponsors from getting a decimation of phone calls by people who are prejudiced and will be prejudging Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson without listening to the logic behind the arguments that they put into place. They will prejudge him because they have been manipulated to being prejudgment people, prejudiced people. I put up the red. Can you? Here we go. I'll repeat this again because I think it's relevant. Let me pull it up higher on the screen. Voting, this presidential election, voting for the President of the United States. 93% of the people in the District of Columbia, 93% voted for Joe Biden. How could that possibly be? That is a mindless vote. Can you possibly believe if we take white people and they overwhelmingly vote for a Republican candidate, you would immediately assign white privilege to that voting bloc? And there are places in the United States where there are white people voting heavily. I don't think it's to the degree of 93%. You may see 73, 75%. As soon as it approaches anything above 60%, black people will say that district voting 70% for Donald Trump is a white privileged voted community. We will be prejudged by black people that we have voted for Donald Trump because we are white privileged and we are prejudiced against black people. Yet, when you see a district like District Columbia voting 93% for Joe Biden or 93% for Barack Obama or 93% for Hillary Clinton, you will think that's a normality. You will not think that's an anomaly. You will not think that's prejudice at all. You will consider that business as usual. There will be no questions asked on that particular thing. Notice on this other side, the communities that have been decimated in violence from the Black Lives Matter terrorist fraction of demonstrators. That, by the way, the Black Lives Matter leaders have not denounced the violence and terrorist faction of their demonstrations. When you do not denounce it, you accept it and you welcome it into your demonstrations. It's fully welcomed by the leaders of Black Lives Matter. Undenounced, it is welcome part of their protest. Take a look at the places that have been decimated by Black Lives Matter. Look at the places: New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. Look at those places and look at the statistics of what cities has the largest black population. I only went through the top three: New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. Decimation of Black Lives Matters, violent faction of that group of violent terrorist people participating in those protests. Where did they decimate? New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. Again, do I need to give more facts than that? You will never hear those facts anywhere else. You won't hear those facts in your face on Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity because they do have to fear their sponsors. You hear it from me because I don't have sponsors to fear. You will hear it from me because I have a limited audience and I give these things out to my limited audience. And I don't care what people think. I don't really care if people think I'm racist, because the reverse is true. Black people are racist. Black people have a hatred towards white people, believing that we have advantages that they don't have. If you, instead of getting off Facebook and complaining, how about trying to work your way up? I worked in Trenton, New Jersey, most dangerous capital city in the country. At least it was when I was working there. I don't know if it's improved since then, but when I was working there 8 years ago, most dangerous capital city in the country, Trenton, New Jersey. No rush hour in Trenton, New Jersey, by the way. No rush hour. Why? You drive around Trenton, New Jersey, you see people sitting on their doorsteps. You see people on their doorsteps whistling at the chicks gone by, so that instead of being on their doorsteps, they're in their beds getting laid, having a pregnancy where then they take no responsibility for the pregnancy that happened. You don't like hearing that either, but that's the way it is. They're on their doorsteps checking out the girl with the big booty, walking down the street, inviting them in for sex where they're going to get pregnant, have a baby, and they're going to live as single parent mothers with multiple children that live on welfare, live on Medicaid, collecting the $600 every month as a bonus on top of their unemployment, even supposing that they were employed at all. They'll be on that $240, which we get in Arizona supposedly, plus the $600 extra. They'll be living on that. As soon as the $600 exits, they're going to complain. They're going to be in panic mode because they got that 5 kids that they had from a guy that just laid them and had sex with them and then let them on their own. And then they would be wanting that $1,200 that they're going to get from the government as the stimulus bonus check. They won't be able to collect the second one because they're not married, so they'll get the $1,200. They'll get $500 extra for each of their kids, although I think there's a limit towards that. And they'll need that because they're needy people on welfare, And where do you think that $1,200 comes from? You think that comes from the sky? Is there a tree in your backyard that's growing that money that you get to pick off the tree and put in your pocket and go shopping for groceries? That money comes from who? The people working, the people that you call white privilege. There are black privileged people too who are working just as hard to pay for your lazy ass to be on that street, or be the guy or the woman walking past the guy on the sidewalk who looks like he's a handsome guy with a large penis. You get in bed with him, make a baby, which you can't support, and then you come crying to people like me who are white privileged or black privileged or Asian privileged because they're working, and you decide that what you need to do is to be close to them so you can put your hand in their pocket and take the money that you need to support your lazy ass self, your inability and your lack of wanting to work and bust your ass to support yourself and your family and make logical decisions. That's what we got going on in this country. That's why we have liberals. That's why we have Democrats, because that party is the party that's willing to give you what you are more than willing to take. That's what we got. We got a give and take process here. We got the people that want to take. We match you up perfectly with the people that want to give. And they are the liberals, or they are the white people that feel guilty when they don't need to feel guilty because we're hard workers. Why do we feel guilty? We're hard workers. Why do we need to feel guilty? We look at our paychecks, we see money taken out to support your asses, yet it's not enough. We need to feel guilty beyond that. We need to be made to feel guilty. If we're not guilty, then we're prejudiced. Or we're bad people because we're not guilty. We're not assuming the guilt that you want to put upon us. So we're not compromising to you guys. We're not complying with the guilt that needs to be placed upon us. And if we don't assume that guilt, we are bad people. The guilt that you want to instill upon us is not being installed upon me. And I know you want me out of here. You want me dead and buried, and I will be in 20 years. And on my tombstone, I should put, you got what you deserve. More power to you. That's what I should put on. Can I put that many words on my tombstone? I wish I could. Maybe I can. Or I better not put it on my tombstone because I'll have a bunch of people that are angry at me for shows like this who will kick over my tombstone. So maybe I should skywrite it. Maybe I should skywrite it on every year of my birthday after I'm dead. Maybe I should do it twice a year. That on my birthday, on the day I died, I should have a skywriter say, you got what you deserve, live with it. I should skywrite that. Maybe that's a better way to do it. I'll put in my will at every birthday and every day, Memorial Day of my death. I have skywrited in the sky from a baby boomer to you, the millennials, who have created the decimation you got to live with. Year after year after year, decade and decade and decade upon, where you have not studied in history to see what communism is really like. You haven't studied it, you haven't evaluated it, you've just been manipulated and brainwashed into thinking that things are going to get better when things get worse. You don't believe it? You're going to witness it. And I cannot think of a more deserving group of people than the people that have voted for the loser person who can't even remember names, who is totally incompetent, who is not the guy you think you're putting in there. You're not putting in Biden. You're putting in Biden for a short period of time because he is a short guy, short on ethics, short on morals, short of intelligence, short of capabilities. That's the guy that you put in there for a short term until the overwhelming Democrat Communist Party takes over and decimates the parts of the country that are still in survival mode. That is what's going on. I got 12 more minutes here, don't I? Actually, I don't have much more to say, except congratulations for your destruction of the United States that you are going to have to live with, your children and your grandchildren are going to have to live with, because you are collecting now. You're getting the freebies. You're getting the free bonus of unemployment that ended some time ago. That ended. Maybe it'll come back again. And when it comes back to you to be delivered and hand-delivered, that free bonus check of your unemployment, that free, what do they call that? That free $1,200. What do they call that? I have a brain thing because I've talked so much here. stimulus check. You'll get that $1,200 stimulus check. You'll get a second $1,200 if you happen to be married, if you don't happen to be a person in Trenton that happen to sleep with that guy on the sidewalk, have a baby, and you're still a single parent. If you happen to have two people in your household, you'll collect $1,200 and $1,200, plus the amount of children you brought into this world that you can't support. Therefore, you need that money because you were illogical in determining how many people in your household you can support without federal and social programs to help you out based upon your illogic and bringing more people into the home that you cannot support, so you look for handouts. Who pays for those handouts? You know, who's going to pay for those handouts? You and your children that you have in your household right now, and the grandchildren of those people in your household. This shit is not free. You may think it's free. You're going to pay a heavy penalty for this, and you deserve to pay this heavy penalty, and you're going to have to pay for it. Look at countries across the world that are communist countries. Can they afford bread and water? Can they afford that stuff which they consider luxuries that you consider to be trivial? I'm not taking phone calls at the moment. Whoever it is, I'm not taking phone calls. Forget it. Because my opinion is golden. Anyone else that wants to call and either complain or participate in this program, you know what? Get your own program. Participate on your own. If you're a Republican or a conservative and you have a point of view that sort of matches mine, then dare to not be the lazy Republican or lazy conservative, as even Trump has said, that Democrats are highly organized and highly unified. Republicans are disunified, disconjuncted, and they are not active and not responsive and not proactive. That's the difference. And to be honest, Republicans are too self-centered to worry about anyone else. They worry about themselves. And that's a part we should unify more and become more unified so we can become the America that we used to be. Instead of the United States of America, we should add that extra S, United Socialist States of America. That's what we are now. And I think that is finally all I've got. I'm not even going to end this with the national anthem since it no longer exists. If you remember, I used to play the national anthem when I was doing political shows. There's no need to play the national anthem because I think we need a new national anthem, which has to be developed. We should just go to China and have them write our national anthem because China is going to take over the entire world. Do you remember the Olympics in China? Do you remember the Olympics? When I watched that Olympics, too bad I don't have this clip to run here on the show right now. I watched the Olympics. When you watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics in China, did you notice the precision of those people marching? Did you notice there was one section where they're marching and then there was a cross panel of people walking diagonally into the horizontal and the vertical realm of people marching? There was a precision in that. There was a machined precision in that. The machined precision of communism coming into this country is precise. It's laser sharp. I have a laser printer as part of my printer here. It is laser sharp. It is focused. It is a communist focused agenda, what is being protracted upon the Democrat Party, who wants communism as part of the United States so they can project themselves into more and more power to take more control of the United States. And do you want government more and more control of your lives? People do. The Democrat people who voted for these idiots to be in office, you do want more control of your lives from government because they are the ones putting money into your pocket, putting Medicaid dollars into your pocket, putting $600 bonuses on top of your unemployment check in your pocket, putting the $1,200 money into your pocket, the incentive. They're putting money into your pocket. You love that. Who does that? Democrats, socialists, communists put money into your pocket so you don't have to achieve on your own. When you do not achieve on your own and you don't bring out the best people in the American population to be the best engineers, the best designers, the best developers, the best computer programmers who are called developers now. When you don't bring out the best in people who compete to be the best and everyone works at a flat plateau of capability, you create the worst in humanity. There is no incentive to get better. to achieve, to become the leaders, to become the people that invent products. You are making everybody work to their minimum capabilities instead of their maximum abilities to achieve. You have destroyed the America hopes, the American dreams, the American people. You have achieved that in this liberal, communist, Democrat vote for the wrong person to become the leader of this country. You don't believe it now? Once I am under the ground, dead and buried, between now and that time, you are going to achieve the destruction that you fully deserve and will receive. The decimation, the destruction, the financial ruin of this country, and you as an individual is coming your way, and I cannot think of a more deserving population than you who are voting for this ridiculous destruction of the United States. Goodbye.